The number of hate crimes recorded by police has dropped for the first time in a decade. However, there's been an increase in complaints about religious and transgender hate. Here's a breakdown of the stats. So, police in England and Wales recorded 145,214 offences in the 12 months to March 2023. That is down by 5% on the previous year. Almost 102,000 were race hate crimes. That's a fall as well of 6%. So we're doing well so far, aren't we? But there were more than 9,000 religious hate crimes, which is an increase of 9%. There was also a total of 4,732 transgender hate crimes. That is apparently up by 11%. So I'm going to zone in on those ones now and just ask, is Britain a bad place to be trans? I'm joined now by the transgender teacher and journalist Debbie Hayton and trans rights campaigner and the host of Gender Nebulous podcast, Frida Wallace. Thank you very, very much, both of you. Frida, is Britain a bad place to be trans, then?
In my experience, no, I don't think so. I mean, I get out and about quite a lot. I was at the Tory Party conference last few days ago, and I just milled around there. No, it doesn't seem to be a problem for me. But the thing is, what I notice is transgender topics are very much key in the media. There aren't no more transgender people, but we are being talked about a lot more. So people are asked to have opinions on us more. And obviously a lot of the people, they don't really understand the issue. They don't know why people are transgender. There's lots of reasons why somebody might come out at a different time in their life as trans. But for me personally, I've just noticed there's a lot more talk about it in the media. So people are obviously more opinionated on me. So they might not know me personally, but they've got an opinion on me. So I find myself being talked about quite a lot, but no representation.
But they're not, I suppose they're not hate crimes, though, are they, is the thing? I mean, it's just a discussion, isn't it? I think, Debbie, it's on that. I'll just come to you now. Do you recognise this so-called 11% rise in hate crimes, do you think, towards trans people?
No, I go about my life as I've always done. I'm not looking for transgender hate around the next corner, and I don't find it. It's just not lurking there. I think the question is just what on earth do these figures represent? Because they're reports of transgender hate crime, and practically anything can be reported. Somebody looked at me a bit funny on the bus. I was a bit uncertain about this. So we need to look at what actually is being reported. And for example, some years ago, there was a sticker campaign. Some women were putting up stickers which said woman, adult, human, female. And we were told within the transgender community that this should be reported and logged with the police online hate crime form because we need the stats. You know, if you go looking for the stats, you can find them.
Okay, Frida, are sometimes maybe people within the trans community a bit too sensitive?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the thing that Debbie's referring to there, the stickers saying how do you move female, they come from a very specific place. They're coming from Kelly J. Keane, who we know is an anti-trans campaigner. That's not in dispute. And I think it's right that people call that. They're not trying to get arrested. They're just making sure that I'm just
going to push just on that, because I actually think this pushback ties in a little bit maybe with some of the points you made earlier, Frida, which is, okay, Kelly J. Keane probably wouldn't describe herself as an anti-trans campaigner. She would, I think, really describe herself as a women's rights activist. And what she would. Well, I kind of beg to differ because what I think she's saying, well, I know she's saying is we don't.
On the ground, right? I mean, what does she?
Okay, let me finish, and then I'll ask you a question, and then we can have the answer, right? So, what she would say is we don't want men in women's spaces. That's her big thing. But I mean, is that transphobic, really?
No, but what she's actually saying there is she's saying trans people. She's not, when she says men, she's referring to someone like me who just goes about my daily life. Now, if I went into a public toilet and Kelly J. Keane was there, I'd be scared to death. Do you know what I mean? I understand what you're saying, Patrick, that this, there is a conversation to be had about single-sex spaces and all that, but it can't come from people like Kelly J. Keane, who we know are transphobic. It's got to come from people who actually look at the statistics.
All right, I'll just say again, look, obviously Kelly's not here to defend herself. I would imagine she would deny that she was transphobic. Yeah, go on.
Let's do it based on risk assessment.
Let's do what? Sorry, what based on risk assessment?
You're going to create this issue that trans people are a problem in society, because that's what Kelly J. Keane would say. But where is the risk? What is the risk?
Okay. Well, I mean, she will. Okay, look, she will point to numerous different articles there where people... Well, yeah, but they do exist, right? Where people who are members of the trans community have committed crimes, and she will point to those and say that is a demonstrable fact why men or trans women shouldn't be in female spaces, and that is up to her. The only reason I'm going to veer away from Kelly J. Keane is because we are now having a discussion about a woman who isn't here, and also it's not my job to defend her wholesale and all that stuff. So we'll move on. All right. Okay. Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Debbie. Right. Gosh. So, do you think then that I'll ask the same kind of question to you then? Do you think that maybe in some situations people are too quick to lob out the idea of that was transphobic for saying things like, I don't want someone with male genitalia in a female prison, say?
Well, I think that's a perfectly reasonable statement, that people with male genitalia shouldn't be in female prisons. And it's that sort of conversation that we need to have so we can build good policy that works for everybody. But the problem is, as soon as people start making those statements, then out come the claims of transphobia, and we just clock up the instances of transphobic hate. Whereas in reality, we need to be having this discussion, and we need to be talking about these issues. And it doesn't help trans people to be under the impression that transphobic hate is going through the roof. We need to get out there, do our jobs, and play our part in society, as I do, and I'd encourage other people to do. The world's a great place the country's a great place to live in.
And Frida, there are pretty much entire continents where it's much worse to be trans than it is.
Yeah, but we don't judge. I mean, the continents on the countries where it is better to be trans is where they have self-ID. We see people are happier overall. There's less misogynistic hate crime as well, because those are more progressive societies. That's why self-ID will come in. But what I will say is, if you want to look at hate crimes as, because for me it mainly happens on Twitter, to be honest, or X as it's known now. So if this video goes out, Patrick, onto Twitter, you have to look at the comments under this video. Just me being trans in a space like BBC News will cause a lot of people to have an opinion on me.
I do. By the way, I do see some of those comments, similar comments that happen sometimes, and you are right that there are people who comment underneath tweets like that when this inevitably goes out that will say things like, so you are absolutely right. I must say, I have also seen an incredible amount of hate, often mobilised, not just here, but people in America especially who seem to jump on board when people say, I think a woman is a woman and a man is a man. And I've got to be honest with you, I have seen firsthand some incredibly vile and disgusting, threatening stuff on both sides of this discussion. Right? I really have seen that firsthand. So go on, Frida, I can see you.
It's not really a both sides discussion, because transgender people are a minority within a minority of the LGBT spectrum. But so if you start saying it's a both sides, you've got, online people are very, very militant sometimes, and I do accept that there are probably what you might call trans rights activists who will spew all kinds. But they're angry for a very good reason. We see our rights being removed, especially in America.
That's good. That's good. Right, that's good. That's a good point. So, Debbie, are trans rights being removed?
No, they're not being removed at all. I would take issue if Frida's only one side of this. There is only one side of this debate that's tried to get me sacked from work, and it's not gender critical women. So I think we need to step back and look at what's happening here. And think we need to have an adult conversation to develop good policy that works for everybody.
Okay, both. Go on, Frida, final word, then go on.
I was going to say, people have campaigned to have me removed from my job. When I've been on TV, people say, don't put this person on the telly, because they know I can have the argument. They don't want people on the telly like me who can have a reasonable discussion. They want me to be a trans rights activist and fulfill that role of being angry all the time, but I'm not. And I'm happy to have this conversation with you, Patrick, because even though I do disagree with a lot of what you say sometimes, I do watch this because I don't live in an echo chamber. And me and Debbie have fallen out before. But we don't, I respect that she's a human being. Do you know what I mean? We do. Trans people don't agree with each other. Do you know what I mean? So.
No, it's not one homogenous group. And I would say as well, Debbie, I'd be keen to get your view on this for the very final word before I get shouted at and taken off air. But this idea of pigeonholing people, I think has mainly been a construct, I would argue, of progressives right? Everything's got to have a label, everything's got to have a flag attached to it, everything's got to have this, that, and the other. So is it not quite easy to group people in together? Debbie?
Well, it is, and this happens, and I don't think it's helpful to group these people together as trans people. I'm Debbie Hitton. I'm a teacher. I'm a trade unionist. I do a bit of writing in the press. The fact that I happen to have a curious psychological condition, let's leave that to one side.
Yeah, all right, okay. But all right, both of you, thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, actually. I'm sure most of our viewers and listeners will have done as well. Great stuff. Okay, so that is indeed teacher, journalist Debbie Hayton and trans rights campaigner and the host of Gender Nebulous podcast, Frida Wallace.